Okay, and share this real quick to the right page. Start this. Start a watch party. Okay, well, this feels like a good time to start.
Right.
For anybody watching now, or for people who are listening to this later in whatever platform that is, thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning into the conversation. I'm super excited to be talking to this human today, Flo Karuna. Not entirely sure, where our conversation's going to go. Well, we have a few ideas of, things we can talk about, but yeah, I think what I want to say first, as we introduce Flo and bring them on here in a second, is Flo has created this really interesting game for families to kind of enter the heart space together, and definitely want to hear more about that. It sounds really interesting. But Flo is just a very I don't know what the right word here would be, but I would say connected and powerful person, aware of their soul, aware of the beauty and the magic of everybody and who we are and how we can connect to each other. And I think we're gonna get a little deeper into what Flo is bringing, but I think this is going to be a really interesting and kind of a dynamic conversation with someone who's felt a lot, seen a lot, experienced a lot, holds a lot of love and energy. So Flo, thanks for being here.
It's an honor. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really grateful to be on this broadcast to the world today.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and your background is perfect.
Like I told you earlier, I'm broadcasting from the Starship fleet hovering over planet Earth right now, just in case you're wondering why I have an Earth background.
And I'm broadcasting from my dark new office place with my closet full of junk in the back. It's great. Yeah, and we wanted to start, I guess, kind of in the grounding together. And you feel, up to kind of dropping us into that still?
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay.
I guess we could all just get comfortable. I know if you're on social media, there's a lot of movement. So maybe make this a time where you could just pause everything and connect on that human level to this interaction today, and just allowing you to get comfortable. And let's just start to feel our sit bones to Mother Earth, our beautiful planet. And let's begin by taking a deep inhale, filling up our diaphragm, and just letting a sigh out on the exhale. Releasing anything we don't need. Taking another inhale, filling up our belly, and just letting it all out. As we come into this sacred moment, as we inviting you to continue to breathe, and inviting everybody here right now to place their feet firmly on Mother Earth. And let's begin to feel our feet to our beautiful planet. And just focus on the soles of our feet, feeling any sensations in this part of our being. And beginning to breathe through the center of our souls, pulling in Mother Earth's energy into our souls and grounding our spirit today. grounding us into the sacred moment as we call upon all our earth guardians and spirit helpers and all the benevolent ones who are watching over us to be present with us today. And may everyone who is listening to this podcast, whatever time, may this conversation help your life path, help you in this moment of your life, and a deeper sense of peace will be revealed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And honoring each and every one of you for showing up today, and honoring you, dear brother, for opening up this sacred space.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure. Absolutely. Thank you for that. It's always nice to drop in, kind of take a breath to like let the day that's happened before kind of be where it was, and kind of recalibrate, to the movements and everything. So thanks for that. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're most welcome, and so important
Yeah.
in our world of so much movement nowadays, and sometimes
Yeah.
the mind could just continually go off scrolling on social media or just going to our job or traveling in our cars.
Yeah.
I think the truth of the matter is we are sensitive beings. No
Yeah.
matter how much we try to cover it up, we are strong, but we're also sensitive. And
Yeah.
in understanding our sensitivity, there's a certain level of maintenance that's needed for us to
Mm-hmm.
be in our optimal self right now.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of just
Yeah.
grounding.
Yeah. I notice for myself, it's really, especially when I'm stressed out and there's a lot going on, it's really easy for me to sort of like numb out naturally, and kind of the Facebook scrolling or the Netflix or even calling people just to talk and just to have something going on in my mind. And inevitably, so at some point in the day, like things just kind of stop, or I get that sense of silence. And initially it's almost overwhelming because I'm like, oh shit, I don't have a way to stop the noise. I don't have a way to like distract myself right now. And I kind of have to like be silent for a second, and then as I like really release and drop into it, every single time this wave of peace kind of comes over, or stillness, or kind of a calibrating or a regulating emotion happens. So yeah, it's really important to do it. And unfortunately, it's not mine, and I don't think it's most people's first instinct to give ourselves time and space. So it's good to have reminders like this.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's always
Yeah.
good to have these reminders, and
Yeah.
grateful we have the awareness to dedicate precious
Yeah.
time, even if it's
Yeah.
like a minute or hopefully more, but
Yeah,
everything helps.
exactly.
Everything helps.
Yeah, definitely. I think, we've been talking about how we want to start this and like what directions we want to go. And I'd really love to just hear kind of what's been heavy on your heart recently, or what's been on your mind. There's so much moving right now. And it's really powerful, I think, to stop that for a second and to hear from somebody else with how they're experiencing the world and how they're processing. And I'd love to just kind of presence ourselves with hearing, what's been sitting with you recently.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
it's 2020, of course. We just entered the 7th month, and quite the unexpected year for all of humanity, including
Yeah.
myself. And what is coming through is we are in such a midst of a shift right now as a collective species. We see a lot of chaos and destruction in our world, and sometimes we question, is our planet going through a dark place? Is our species, losing its bearings? But when I see what's happening in humanity, and I get these moments to spend time in the clarity of Mother Earth, away from the noise, it's crystal clear that the old societies that no longer serve us are beginning to collapse before our very eyes.
Mm.
And we're moving into something much greater as a species. Now, from a healing standpoint, I think we could all relate to this. When you're going on your healing journey and maybe like these emotions just start to flood you, perhaps from the past, perhaps from a situation that's arisen, it's that bubbling to the surface that is the pre-checkpoint before it's released from you. And I feel
Mm.
we as a human species are bringing a lot to the surface right now. Nothing can be hidden in our existence. Whatever is buried will come to the truth. And the truth of the matter
Mm.
is, there's been a lot of burying of truth in our days. There's been a
Mm.
burying of the colonization of indigenous people. There's been a burying of the suppression of minority voices. And although we're in this greater place of equality where we all have our freedom, that storyline from past times was never concluded. Instead, a
Mm.
simple band-aid was put on. And you can't put a band-aid on a big wound in your body. So I tell
Mm.
everyone listening right now that we are going through a tumultuous time, but it's all part of a necessary release. So we as humanity can come together in our greatness and our unity. And
Mm.
it could be rough out there right now, you know. Just tuning into like the social media world, in particular Facebook. There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of venting, there's a lot of emotions in the field, and I feel it's important that we try not to judge these angers and emotions, but greet it with a stillness, greet it with a non-judgment, greet it with a compassion, for these are deep emotions that have been buried and they have to come to the
Mm.
surface in order to move forward. So
Yeah.
it's important that we don't get sucked up. I guess that's number one. It's important we don't get sucked up in this time. It's so easy
Mm.
to get sucked up into narratives that the news media is saying, that that's happening with the racial tension in throughout the planet. But if we could have that stillness, we will see something much greater unfolding, which is the rising of a unified species and the letting go of outdated models of our existence that don't serve us. So
Mm.
I'll have deep compassion for everyone's journey in 2020. I know it's been a challenging year for many, but at least from like the overarching global perspective, there's so much beauty happening in our world right now. It's bringing
Right.
people together in unique ways. I know we don't have that ability to maybe come heart to heart, but that would absolutely change. But in the meanwhile, we're reconstructing a society built on compassion. And I feel some of the
Mm.
work you're doing is exactly in line with that. Like, for example, how was your project inspired?
I mean, yeah, like, and basically in the light of what you're talking about, wanting to um, see the other side of this and create a way for us to move through the emotions without just being reactionary, because I think what you're saying is so true. When big things like this happen and when energy comes to the surface and what's been simmering underneath for so long finally erupts, it's really easy to just kind of take that ride, and kind of go with it and explode and I mean in ourselves to like release everything that we've been suppressing as well. And I think in some cases that's pretty necessary and healthy. But I think the way in which we do it is really important, and having a way to learn how to regulate that process, how to stay grounded in that process, and how to stay like I think anchored to the purpose of why we're going through a transition is really
Mhm.
powerful. Because if we get lost in that space, in that transitional area, um, from what I understand in my experiences and from hearing from other people, that's a really I want to use the right word. That's a really vulnerable place to get lost in emotion, because then you might have to come back to that place to retrieve things that were detached there, or thoughts or feelings or memories and this kind of stuff. So yeah, to answer your question, I think really helping, I mean, myself in a lot of ways is really helpful through this process and this organization, but it's really built to help us as a community stay grounded in the transitional phases that we're going through globally. I mean, this is a very poignant time in the history of everything. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, kind of where it came from.
It's interesting how kindness is a rooter to stay together in these times. And just through hearing your words, it's re-inspiring me to commit to kindness, because we need it more than ever.
Right, right.
It brings clarity to life. There's a lot of narratives that want to take over and influence our perspective on what is occurring. And when we come back down to simplicity, which to me is kindness for one, connecting with Mother Earth in quietude, away from technology, and stillness, meditation, or journaling, or spending quality time with the self, that rethreads us to the true narrative happening. And as the yogis of India and all the awakened beings of all time, it's come back to the self, and there'll be clarity. So
yeah,
I appreciate your work, brother. I deeply appreciate it. You're doing some great work.
Well, thanks. Yeah, and I'm grateful for your time here. A lot of what you said earlier kind of struck me as you were sharing kind of what's been going on for you, and I'm curious about your story and getting to where you are now, and not just in the process of 2020 and coronavirus happening and the shifting of all this stuff, but I'd like to get to that point and kind of sit there for a minute. But maybe before we get there, I'd love to hear who you are and where you developed, and how you came to be in the position you're in.
Oh, thank you. Well,
yeah,
it's a long story, but I'll try to synthesize it.
Strap it in. Let's do it.
Strap it down for the audience. But I grew up, well, I'll just jump to my college days, because a lot happened in my childhood. I graduated out of college with a focus to start my own business. I was asphyxiated on, becoming an entrepreneur. So my first year out of college, I ended up starting a men's dress shirt company. I was making these very fancy, high collar dress shirts with cufflinks on them. They were beautiful.
No way.
Yeah, they were beautiful, and it actually ended up taking me to China. And on my trip to China, I ended up going to, after all the business was accomplished, ended up going into Tibet. And I feel like I've had many incarnations in Tibet, and it just sort of, there's something when I arrived, touched down in Tibet, started to remember something that I forgot, and that remembering continued to chip away, where it eventually led me to going deep into meditation. And I ended up committing to a 10-day silent retreat. And I came into a 10-day silent retreat with a lot of emotions boiling, kind of like individuals in this time, questions on where to go in my life. I was constantly pushing aside this meditation retreat, because I said, 10 days? Are you out of your effing mind? Like, I'm running a business here. So I kept pushing aside till finally, the straw that broke the camel's back. And it's like the first thought that clicks in my mind after I kind of collapse, wondering what's going on with my life, is to go to this meditation retreat. So these meditation.
So was that the straw that broke the camel's back? There, was that just kind of a pit in time for you? Like, were you going through some heavy emotions and just realized you needed to take that space?
Yeah, I had a really intense ending to a relationship, and I
Okay.
feel relationships are such beautiful catalysts for people to go
Hmm.
deep into their soul. I don't think
Yeah.
there's
Oh yeah.
a pain experience on any realm other than a breakup.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. It definitely is a transcendental experience and a shift and everything. Yeah. It's a lot.
So I reached out to this meditation retreat, and normally there's like a 2 to 3 month wait list. This was in 2008, and
Okay.
by grace, I explained my story. Actually, I went into details. I'm like, I need to get in. The retreat was in 3 days, and it was unheard of
Mm.
for someone to get into the retreat, 3 days in advance. But
Yeah.
I laid out my case, and by my fortunes, they accepted me the next day, and I came into this meditation retreat with vigor, determination to to end the suffering and pain that I'm going through in my life.
Mm.
And I just boom, entering the silence every day, just silence. And through those 10 days, I started to unprogram myself from the way society had trained me. We think we're speaking from an independent frame of mind, but behind our independent thinking is a lot of programming from the moment we were born. And
Yeah. Right.
meditation provides this wonderful opportunity to clean one's hard drive, to see stuff truly fresh.
Mm.
So in that meditation retreat, I was connecting a lot on the concept of change. Now, change when you is the one guarantee in our existence as taught by the Buddha. Right now, your body's cellular structure is changing. The clouds are rotating. The earth is rotating. You're getting older, quote unquote. Everything's
Hmm.
in change. And meditating on that concept of change, it got me to thinking, I'm gonna die one day. And I had never looked at the concept of death. So there's a particular activity from Stephen Covey, who wrote the book, I think it's the 8 or 9 highly effective traits of successful people. Sorry if
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
blowing this title, but
Yeah.
I remember at the retreat, one of the exercise was to go to your funeral in the future and witness how people were talking about you.
Oof.
So I kind of like
Yeah.
just,
It's heavy.
it's heavy or a blessing in disguise. So I
Mm.
fast forwarded to that, and I realized I wasn't living my truth to that
Mm.
moment. I realized I was just following the path that society laid out for me, and this was not the life I want to look back on myself. And I knew in that moment I had to make a change, or the collective experience at the retreat. So when I got out of the 10 days, I realized I had to dedicate myself to Mother Earth.
Mm.
She is the provider of everything: life, water, shelter, this beautiful planet we call home. And I knew I needed to dedicate my life on a deep level to her. So
Mm.
at that time, I was living in Ontario, Canada, and I always want to go to Vancouver. And right after retreat, it's like, I have to go to Vancouver. So I ended up completely stopping my business. Well, I had no choice because I didn't feel I was serving Mother Earth at that moment. And it doesn't have to
Mm.
be as abrupt, the life change, as I made. But for me, I had no choice. I had to make a strong, firm redirection and
Was
commitment.
that a big shift? Was it a lot that you were like letting go? Like, were you? I mean, it sounds like you were pretty successful with what you were doing.
Well, it was paying the bills. It's not like I was like driving a Bentley, but it was.
But still, I mean, it was something you put effort and heart into. I mean, and you dedicated. I mean, it sounds like years to this
Yeah,
business.
yeah, I dedicated a couple of
Yeah.
years, and it was
Yeah.
kind of like building up behind the scenes, to be honest with you. And the meditation retreat kind of just blasted it all the way, and there's like no looking back. So yes,
Yeah.
I shed a lot of what I thought the way I needed to live. And that once again comes down to the way I was trained by society. There's nothing wrong with We're
Mm.
all impacted by how society has guided us. But I
Yeah.
became so aware of it that I could deconstruct it and reconstruct what was important to my heart and to peace and
Mm.
to serving other people. And that's what it became
Right.
about: peace, love, serving each other, and having a freaking adventure, because I knew life was so precious and I had to seize the moment.
Sounds
So
like you woke up in a lot of ways. Like you just kind of, I mean, kind of like come to Jesus moment. I've heard people call it that. This like a light illuminated your spirit, and you kind of saw life for what it was. Or maybe it sounds almost like you confronted death in a way too. Like you, yeah,
well, this is the beauty of connecting with death. In our society,
yeah,
it's a fearful topic, it's taboo. People don't want to go
yeah,
there. But there's a strange paradox to live in. It's like the more you understand death, the more you're going to live your life.
right,
And I, once again, just relating it back to the current time, I feel like those droplets of mortality can creep in to people's awareness when they're like, oh, what I thought, the way my plans are not going as I thought they were. And, you start to question your life. So
right,
contemplating on death to me is such a rewarding practice to,
yeah,
really, really show one how amazing this life is
mm.
that we all get to experience right now. And so grateful. Like, wow.
Yeah,
It doesn't mean I'm like this every moment. Obviously, I'm human, but like that
right,
overarching gratitude,
yeah.
I try my best to keep that thread going along.
You know, there's a I don't know how familiar you are with the Christian religion. Are you familiar at all with like the Bible? Have you read it or
Yes,
been affiliated in
I've
any
read the
way?
New Testament, and
Okay,
I'm a big, I love Jesus Christ.
cool. Okay, great. Well, uh there's a passage that I grew up in the church and had a very like intense relationship with the Christian religion, but there's a passage that I remember being really struck by a long time ago when I read it. I think it's in Deuteronomy, but it says something like, blessed is the person who spends time amongst the dead.
Mm.
Basically meaning like, there's fruit and uh, an awakening of sorts and a richness to, visiting those memorials of people who have passed and who have gone on. So like for me, that means like, walking around graveyards and the contemplation of our mortality and seeing, the tombstone that says, Mary, whatever, from 1860 to 1920. You see that time frame of a life that existed and the impact of that, finite existence that we carry. There's this, bubbling of incredible like joy that is like a fire in you that's like, holy shit, this is my life. This is my 70 years of experiencing the breath that I just took, the color of my blanket I'm looking at, like the tea that I'm drinking. Like I get to and be a part of this. And
Mm.
so I think what you're saying is true. It's been something that I think has been contemplated for thousands of years. Obviously, these biblical writers writing about it thousands of years ago, that, blessed is the person who spends time amongst the dead, the richness that comes from that experience. So it sounds like a transformational period for you, coming back to Ontario, deciding to sell your business and, moving to Vancouver. But what's next? Where do we go
Well,
from there with you?
it was
Yeah.
very transformative, and I
Yeah.
decided I wasn't just going to go to Vancouver anyway. I wanted to hitchhike from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean.
Oh my God.
So,
Yes.
um, yeah, so I'm for those viewers in the United States, Ontario would kind of be like Illinois, and the coast is New York. So I'm in like this Illinois state. I got the Great Lakes, but
Um,
my goal is to hitchhike from Atlantic to Pacific. And I'm living in Toronto, Canada, massive city. There's no way you could hitchhike,
yeah.
right?
Right. Right.
So I'm trying to find a ride share to Nova Scotia, which is the east coast of
Oh my
Canada.
God.
And
Yeah.
I'm on like Kijiji, Craigslist. Oh, sorry, not Kijiji, Craigslist. And I'm trying to find ride shares. And I reach out to somebody on a Tuesday, And I say, can I come for the ride share? And they're like, oh, sorry, we're full. I'm like, all right. So I kind of like dropped it. I wasn't packed. And it's a Saturday now, that same week. I'm 40 minutes away from my house. I'm talking to my friend on the phone. My car's parked, and he's talking to me on this particular issue. Sometimes in life, opportunity presents itself, and you literally have to decide in that moment. And from that moment, your life will transform just through that one decision. So that thought is vibrating in my head, and I hear doot doot, call on the other line. All right, pick up the call on the other line, and hey, Flo, you know how you called about the ride share on Tuesday? Well, the person dropped out, and I'm actually close to your residence because I told her where my address was.
Nice.
Are you still down to come to Nova Scotia? So I'm 40 minutes away from my house. I'm not packed, no plans, but that conversation stays in me, and I'm like, yeah, but I need an hour, 40 minutes to get home, 20 minutes to pack. So I literally get home. It's kind of like a Hollywood movie where I'm stuffing my bag with stuff. I
Yeah.
don't have time to think. And just like that, I'm in a car and I'm on my way to the East Coast, no plans.
Oh my God. Wow.
And I dubbed that trip a trip of faith because all I had was faith. I had $50 in my pocket, nothing
Wow.
else, and faith. And
Wow.
just trusted the universe, and the whole way I was guided, taken care of, and I really learned to trust existence. And literally, I know that that trip would end me taking me around the entire planet, to India, South America, Mexico, once again to Tibet, and started with a thumb out and $50. Well, I had a ride share, but $50 from Nova Scotia, and I traveled the entire world just believing. And speaking of Christianity, like my prayer at the time when I was hitchhiking was, I always said, send me God's workers. I'm just like, send me God's workers. And I finished up organic volunteer farm gig in Nova Scotia sometime later down the road. And the guy drops me out of the farmer drops me out of a spot, and I'm waiting longer than expected. Like 2 hours passes, and you can get a ride pretty easily in the East Coast. So 2 hours, I'm waiting. Finally, a gentleman comes. We get in the car, and he's like, I was supposed to leave yesterday, but something like kept telling me to stay. So we end up exchanging, like, what are you up to? And he was distributing Bibles around the world. So I knew nothing about like the scriptures or anything. And for the next 5 hours, I was just taught, and I learned a lot. And that's when I got my first New Testament. So
nice.
I consider myself a spiritual being, but I have such deep appreciation for all the religions and any teaching that's teaching love. And I'm all about the teaching at the end of the day. That's like the gold. Just give me the teachings, and nothing could beat that, right? It was a transformative journey. It took me to Vancouver eventually. As soon as I got to Vancouver, 3 rainbows were waiting the moment I got in. Everything was just so
welcoming you.
And there's just so many stories, but I just called it a trip of faith, and it just kept happening. Like God, the universe kept providing because I just kept having faith and trusting.
Yeah. What were you holding on to? Like, what was the faith that you felt inspired to be chasing and stepping out onto?
I don't know if I was conscious of it, to be honest with you. I just had a firm belief I was taken care of, and I feel like true faith is not just believe. And I think we could a message for everyone in this moment is like, true faith is not just holding on to that optimism when things are going good, but it's finding that optimism when, for example, like some nights I didn't have a place to sleep and I'm sleeping on a bench, and it's like those moments define my faith. And wherever you are in your life, if you're in the hole of your life or you're in a dark place, may you go deep in those moments and find that faith, and know that the sun will rise. The sun always rises. It is how this universe, or at least our Earth, like beautiful planet, works. And everything to me comes back down to Mother Earth. She is like my teacher. If you sit in Mother Earth in quietude, you will learn the secrets of life, and she teaches me that faith,
Yeah. Right.
like a
So
compost, like a
yeah.
compost, like your scraps get recycled back into the earth and grow healthy, nutritious soil, and sometimes even sprout plants. We will survive this. We will grow. I have so much belief that good things are
Mhm.
coming from this, and I feel like it's beyond belief. It's just studying the science of our universe, and
Mhm.
to study the science of the universe, we got to go beyond our little mind that thinks it knows everything,
Yeah,
and
right.
just watch her beauty, and you will have faith too. I know it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, as you're talking, I noticed two things. I first noticed in myself like this like inner cheerleader that as you're talking, I'm like, yes, yes, like faith, we will get through this. We will, like step on, we will, like, this is beautiful. We can connect to Mother Earth and be taught and grow and all of this stuff. And then I noticed this other part of me that I'm not sure what its root is or where it comes from. And it's always been there. It's, as for as long as I can remember, I've had this in me, but this, and I don't know how to say it in a way that's not like, I guess I'll just say
Go
it.
for it.
Yeah, it feels, I noticed this cynicism in me as you say that, and as you speak, that's like, come on, that's not that practical. You're so positive about it, like I don't feel that same positivity, and maybe that it's my like jealousy that I feel that, I'm jealous of your optimism with it, that I want that, so I subconsciously like part of myself attacks that optimism. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's the purpose or the reason behind it, but I feel in myself as you share it, this kind of like almost like this veil that comes over, kind of like wanting to block me from that positivity, because as you speak, it's like radiating such positive belief, and you're full of love and life and good like energy, and you're sending that out. So I don't know, how does that sit with you, me sharing that?
I Well, coming back to Mother Earth,
Yeah.
there's so many forms of existence and being and operating on our planet.
Yeah.
One
Right.
thing I love about her is she has every temperature coexisting at the same time.
That's a really interesting thing to think about. Yeah.
She has every time coexisting at the same time. Right now,
Mm,
it's
mm.
every time from midnight to high sun.
All right, you got me. You got
Adversity
me here. I'm excited about that part. Yeah, that's good.
Adversity is the name of our earth, and
Mm,
uh, I don't think I don't want to impose my thinking onto anybody, because each one of us has our unique wisdom
mhm,
and guidance.
mhm,
So I respect that. I respect the logic. I respect the practicality. But
mhm,
at the end of the day, it's just about your self knowledge. Your
mhm,
self knowledge, it's about your experience. What I've
mhm,
learned in this life is there is no right or wrong. There's morals, but
mhm,
from a perspective standpoint, I don't really know the truth. I think we're all
mhm.
learning, we're all growing, but at least I could only speak from my personal experience, and it's this life has
Yeah,
provided for me uh bountiful when I had that faith. And Mother
yeah,
Earth operates the same. Like, some parts are a desert and they don't grow nothing. And then I'm in British Columbia, and it's like old growth rainforest. Everything grows
right.
here. And it
Yeah,
would be silly for the desert to compare its experience to the rainforest. And that's the toxicity of sometimes in social media. I feel we tend to compare each other, and I'm guilty
right.
of it too. And that comparison really like tends to lower me, make me question myself and
Right.
wonder, am I right or wrong? But
Right.
it's imperative that we compare ourselves to ourselves yesterday.
Yeah.
We come back to
Yeah.
our energy field, and everything I teach is come back to your energy field. Your
Yeah.
energy field has the built-in instructions from God and the universe for how to conduct your life in your particular unique genius. And what we are doing as humans, 7 billion of us, is learning from each other.
Hmm.
And my prayer to humanity is we gain the ability to learn from each other without bumping heads. I know it's necessary in certain circumstances, and I respect anyone who is standing up for equality and rights. Sometimes you got to draw the line in the sand in particular issues, but
Hmm.
retracing that to Mother Earth is everyone has their cycle. Every part of this globe has their cycle. For example, the deserts, if you trace like the land history, it could go back to being an ocean.
Hmm.
And this is the rotation of all of us. Maybe I need to explore cynicism to learn something, but
Hmm.
I share this because it's so important that we accept who we are. And
Yeah.
through that inner acceptance, good things will come, confidence will arise, and your unique offering and teachings and wisdoms will be offered. So
Right.
thank you for both perspectives. And like yourself, like this is just a moment in time. Like we're on Facebook and Zoom, I'm in
Right.
an interview, but then like life continues, and then I have these moments where like, oh man, I need some cash, or I gotta survive, right? It's nothing's like fully, but it's a training.
Yeah.
Everything's training. We are in the school of training, and just like an athlete needs to practice running to run well, we
Hmm.
gotta put focus on thinking positive, having the discipline to spend time with ourselves, getting off technology, going into Mother Earth. And I promise anybody, if they have that discipline, or not even discipline, I like the word blissipline. They have the blissipline, which is following.
Discipline.
It's
I
not my
like that.
words. I've heard it.
I
Uh,
like it.
if you have the blissipline, you will get your healing. You will get your healing. And I feel
Mhm.
healing is more important than perspective right now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That all resonates really well with me. Everything you just shared about, the things with perspectives and the different approaches and understandings of the world we're in, and it not having to be met with some sort of like combative or polarizing or tension sort of way. All that to say, that's not what I feel like is happening in me.
Oh, for sure. Definitely
It's
not
just a
peaceful.
recognition. Yeah, yeah, it's just a recognition of, I guess, as we talk, I feel very like um, safe in my experience with your presence. You know what I mean? So I feel comfortable as you share your thoughts to reflect back onto that, almost like a plot, like a background. And if you think about it like that, like that's literally what we're doing, what everybody's doing at all times on the earth. And kind of what you shared earlier with the time, it's all times right now on the earth. It's all times. It's sunny somewhere, it's dark somewhere. Um, that's also the true with connection and relationship. It's all love right now in some places. It's all hate. It's all anger. It's all frustration. It's all sadness. It's all joy. Like it's all happening at this moment, and we need each other as a
Yes.
background to not to compare ourselves to, but to mirror who we are and where we're at, so that can illuminate, what I am and what you are, what's underneath me. So as you share such positivity and as you share your perspective and your worldview, that illuminates in me the the cynicism that is residual of my past and where I've been in my perspective. And it's not something to compare to you, say, oh, I wish I was like Flo, I wish I had that positivity, and get down on myself. It's beautiful. I need you, Flo. Like I need
You.
I need that exactly. We all need each other. Like we need conversations like this. We need connection, because it illuminates, where I am in myself, in my story, in my unfolding, in my growing, in my becoming, a transformed person.
Oh.
So it's beautiful. It's beautiful hearing your perspective, because it really, even though it's painful for myself to be like, damn it, like I wish I had like more faith in us, because I'm so swallowed by negativity. And I could go down that path of being negative about it, or I could listen to you and I could take your perspective and I can say, you know what, I really love that. And I'm going to push myself to reframe my cynicism, because I like the approach of being like convinced in belief that this world is beautiful, and that we can connect and we can heal and we can grow. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful. And I think you just really eloquently described what we need, which is
Right.
it's listening. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
more than opinions right now, we need listening.
Yeah.
I feel like humanity, humanity, I love you, but just take a chill pill on opinions. I'm opinionative, obviously, if you heard this conversation. But when someone's hurt, we should listen. And in the indigenous culture, I learned and I participated in something called a talking stick ceremony, which I don't know if you've participated in it, but
yeah.
okay. But for the viewers who haven't, it's not really a talking stick ceremony, as an elder told me. It's a listening ceremony. And how it works is there's a stick, and whoever holds a stick talks, and everyone else cannot interject, cannot jump in. They simply have to offer their presence and listening. And so much healing comes just from acknowledgement. At the end of the day, we just want to be heard. And if we all want to be heard, what's the solution to being heard? It's listening. So I think you beautifully opened my heart even more to make that commitment to listening to other people in this time.
Yeah. It's hard, right? It's hard to listen.
This thing go, hey, chill too.
It's hard because and it's valid, like we want to be a part of the conversation, we want to interject, and we want to be like unveiling what's underneath this picture of Ryan. I want to express what's inside of all of that, but we can't really have a good perspective of what's in here until I've listened to what's out there to illuminate that. You know what I mean? Like I can't really understand myself until I've talked to Flo, and until I've talked to, whoever, and seen what I am in light of that person, because that gives and informs the true essence of who I am as myself. You know what I mean? Because I'm not complete without you. I'm not complete without my partner. I'm not complete without, the humans that exist on this earth throughout time and space. They literally create everything about who I am, which is just absolutely mind-boggling to think about, that there's not one person on the earth that does not have influence and an impact in some way, some smaller than others, but on the breath that I'm taking. I mean, you think about coronavirus, like it is showing in kind of in a really powerful way just how much connected we actually are in this time and space, how rapidly things go across the globe. A breath breathed out something and impacted millions across the world. Like it's fascinating. I mean, it's horrible, obviously, because of the impacts on it. And I wish that it was like, we breathed it out and then everybody became really joyful. And that's kind of the virus. That was a joy virus. That'd be wonderful, but that's not the case. But it is showing how connected we really are and how much we really intermingle in each other's lives,
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need each other. We
Yeah.
need each
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, and hearing you talk, I'm kind of struck by the word that keeps coming to my mind is conviction. Like you speak and carry yourself as someone who believes in something. And belief to me is one of the most powerful things that we can have, because without belief, you know, like that's in my experience in life is where things get really dark and really lonely and shielded. And hearing you talk, I'm just struck by your conviction. And I'd love to hear, I guess, a little bit about what that is in you, if that's a
Absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely. Uh,
Okay.
it comes out, it comes back to me to my time in silence. It's
Mm-hmm.
beyond silence, but you know, when you're really silent, you get to the stage called the witness. And the witness is actually watching your conscious mind. You're watching it. You're not in it.
Right.
And when you're watching it, it really can be like a mind opener. Like, who am I? Am I really Flo? Am I really this person? I'm like watching myself right now. How is this even possible?
It's a trip, man. It's a trip.
So, so just like it's crazy, just like that
Yeah. Yeah.
minute space allows you to see that. And
Mm.
entering that space, which you could enter through many ways. You can enter through prayer. You can enter through, once again, repeat, going to Mother Earth,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
meditation, yoga, whatever it is for you that calms your mind. Sports, running, it gives you the space to decipher what is almost like true to
Mm.
your essence.
Mm.
And those moments of space have made me realize that I've been indoctrinated in a disempowering society that has made me feel that I am unworthy, not valuable, constantly question myself. And I am a living, breathing being on this planet, and I'm having thoughts that poison my mind.
Mm.
And becoming aware of these constant bombardments, which I associate with many parts of societies from previous times, but we're moving to a new time.
Mm.
But when you get to that, you realize that, and you weed these disempowerments, you realize that we are special divine beings. And
Mm.
I think our innate truth behind the noise is we are co-creators with all of reality. We have been enslaved in many ways, and it's time for humanity, each and every one of you, to proclaim you're worthy. You are worthy of this life. You're worthy of expressing yourself. You're worthy of sharing your gifts. Worthiness is such a
Mm.
key thing. And
Mm.
in any disempowered society, I would say in the universe, the structure is
Mm.
the same. Or if you just, okay, let's look at a microcosmic, in a relationship. If there's a narcissist and someone who's more on the sensitive empathic side, the narcissist will manipulate the sensitive person into believing they are not capable, they are not worthy. So the narcissist has more control. And
Mm.
these I don't want to put the blame on anyone outside of me, because I'm an empowered soul and I know I could change my fortitude within. But the
Mm.
storyline, at least, is that shadow leaders, governments, religious figures, you name it, have been making us feel disempowered. And it's
Right.
been embedded into our subconscious and it's been embedded into our thinking. And we as a species are coming out of this dark cycle and reconfiguring what an empowered citizenry looks like. And conversations like this, having real conversations without fear, expressing our emotions, expressing our vulnerabilities, is part of that collective healing. So to re-answer your question, it's the time to self, to really get to know self, that has made me come to these awarenesses. I don't think they just came overnight. They kind of just naturally flowed through. And now I'm passionate about sharing to every single person that they are powerful, they are meaningful, as you said. Their life has purpose. And when you claim your worthiness, and when you claim that your life has purpose, you create the cataclysms in the energetical fields for humanity to know freedom. And this is the purpose of all your lives in this sacred moment we find ourselves in. To realize that any thoughts that pass through aren't necessarily yours, as the Buddhists and Zen teachers and yogic teachers of India, they're passing thoughts. And I implore you to dedicate time to spend time with yourself, and you will get this guidance. You will receive it, and you will know that you are great. You are great. Self-knowledge is the way. Self-knowledge has saved me. Without self-knowledge, I would not know this, and I would be playing the game, and there's nothing wrong with playing the game. It's great to be grounded on this earth and be part of our beautiful worlds and societies. But also it's important to be mindful of what is transpiring behind the scenes, and that behind the scenes work starts with us. That is the true work. You could type all the conspiracy posts in the world, but if you don't take the dictator that's within your own self, what the fuck is the point?
Right. Exactly. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I think what really strikes me with what you've been saying is the thing that's in all of us, the ability that we all have, the magic, you know, of what makes us magical is that observer self, that space where you can sit with yourself in silence. And I mean, I'm trying to do it as I talk right now, and it's kind of tripping me out. But like the fact that I'm in this body, that I'm having these thoughts, you know, I'm not sure where they're coming from. It's probably just a byproduct of all the shit that I've seen and heard and experienced in my life, just kind of, you know, funneling through whatever it is. Like I am in this, I'm holding my hands like this, I'm looking at the color of my skin. That ability to recognize that is magical. That's insane that we can pause that autopilot, you know, just reflexive way of existing and slow that process down to see it and to literally like kind of like get outside of it and look back on it and recognize its flow and its patterns and its roots and all of that, and start to uproot things, to fix parts, to reframe broken thought structures or negative views of ourselves. Like that is powerful to tap into. And I think once we taste that, and once we start to see that we have that ability and that gift that every human being on the face of the earth has, then we start to see things the way that you do, then the positive ways, and the belief that we can, you know, you use the word reclaim our worthiness, and our self-worth. You said reclaim your self-worth. We start to recognize that that's an actual thing. Because I think I know people who hear us talk about reclaiming self-worth and they're just like, yeah, like okay, here's two guys talking about the value of being alive and the value of, you know, whatever, yada yada yada. But there's something there that's tasted and experienced that we can all tap into, where we recognize that there is an infinite value in who we are, in our experience on earth. And I mean, just the simplicity of me drinking this tea has so much beauty inside of it as an experience. And I can validate my belief that I have self-worth through the act of drinking that tea and enjoying the life and the pleasures of existing. I do want to say real quick, and I don't know really how to go in this direction. And I feel in myself, even as I want to transition here, hesitancy and fear. So I'd love your support in going here. But I can't help but feel the need to recognize the people in this world who don't, for one, who don't have people around them encouraging them with this belief and this awareness of the magic and the ability to observe ourselves that we're talking about, and also kind of the privilege that we have in white bodies, having this sort of connection to that, and that sort of opportunity to slow down in the way that we are able to. Does that make sense?
Well, I don't know. It's hard for me to say.
Yeah.
All I know is, the mind could play games, and we have to live our lives for others who can't. And in living our lives, we actually grant that freedom rather than suppress it. That's just my personal thinking. And studying the masters from all around the globe, it's there. It's there, right on the tip of our nose. And I know many people might not have this freedom that we both have, but I do believe that the more people enter into it, the more the possibilities presented for others,
right.
like reconnecting to that connectivity our planet has. And when you're speaking about coronavirus, it's it's like, okay, if this pandemic's going on, is it a negative thing that I'm healthy? Is my health going to lower the standards of the people with the virus, for example? I probably not, right? So I feel that our consciousness ripples and has a great impact. And we do this work. We do this work with intention, not for self or selfish reasons, but to liberate our entire species. That is our mission. That is why we are here. Not to liberate the self, liberate our species. And that's why I'm here, and I will continue to be here until that happens.
Yeah, that's a really fascinating perspective. Thank you for that. I think it's really important for us to, as to, what's the word? To, men talking like this, to just talking in a way where we're, getting excited about meditation and positivity and reclaiming our worthiness, to just, make space for the people who don't have the level of privilege and opportunity that you and I have to sit in those spaces, or the time, or the privilege of literally just taking a breath in the day, because we're not constantly bombarded by the stresses that people who don't have this privilege are, or the people who are in Black bodies who are being oppressed in the ways that they are. The space to just give themselves, a minute to breathe, to just give themselves that opportunity. And so what I really like what you said was that, in a sense, you and me and other people who have the time to do this, doing that and taking space to be the observer, to watch ourselves, to sit and to meditate and to grow, the more of us that do that, theoretically is going to make that more accessible to more people, so like if we're all doing this, if we're all taking the space, if we're all breathing and we're all watching ourselves and our thoughts and practicing being kind and love, then hopefully and I believe that would bleed over into these other demographics and other groups of people who don't have that same perspective or have that same privilege or opportunity to sit in the spaces that you and I do. I haven't thought about it like that before. So I really appreciate that perspective, because in light of what we're going through in America with Black Lives Matter and everything that's been going on, and like, the defunding of the police and everything, like, I think it's really interesting to think of that perspective of how we don't want to hear kind of crumble under the weight of the energy and what's happening, but we want to continue to step forward with the life that we've been given, with the opportunity and the privilege that you and I have, to make it more accessible for other people who don't have that same privilege and opportunity to sit and to let themselves be aware of where they're at. So that's a really interesting perspective. Thanks for sharing that.
Welcome, man.
Yeah. I wanted to hear a little bit about some of the stuff you're doing now as well. I kind of wanted to go here a little earlier. You mentioned something, and then I got a little sidetracked. So I wanted to ask about. Well, I guess I kind of want to hear a little bit about this board game, but I know there's some other work that you've been doing. So I'm not sure where you want to take that, but I'd love to hear, about, things that you're into right now and the stuff that you've been excited about.
Yeah, well, a lot is going on, but one thing I'm very passionate about, and it might be a little off topic, but I've developed a website called star-codes.com, and I just feel it's an amazing time to learn from all the species in our universe. And I feel when we enter a place of quietude, we can receive many messages. So I've started this website called Star Codes, and I'm creating a hip hop album.
Whoa, no way.
Yeah. I've always made hip hop. I grew up in Toronto on hip hop, and so
nice.
Finally it's all coming together. And the board game Masters of Light, which came to the market last year, and I find it's a very heart-opening, beautiful game. Excuse me. For families to connect with each other in deep conversation, kind of like we're doing right now, and open the doors to acts of kindness, growing together, learning together, and healing. So Masters of Light it's on Amazon. And
so how does it work? Is it it's a board game, is that right, or a card game?
It's actually like an Oracle deck fused with a board game.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right.
I dub a group oracle, and it takes people on a collective journey where through the 4 categories of Mother Earth, relationships, creativity, and self-knowledge. And they go through the game, go through the questions, and the groups and families just come together on such a beautiful, loving level in that field of unity. And I felt a game was a good way to bring people together and get us off technology, get us looking in each other's eyes again, and get us to really listening.
Yeah.
And it works with the Ascended Masters, who are awakened, documented beings throughout planet Earth from all cultures. And we have 33 cards of these beings. My parents are from India, so I grew up with a lot of like Vedic teachings and Indian teachings. So this beings from around the world to inspire you and make you see what's possible in life. These masters inspired me when I read the book Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. It just blew my mind. It's just like, okay, there's so much we don't know yet. There's so much we can be. Reading about these masters really inspired me, and the masters played a big role in my travels around the world. Um,
Hmm.
I believe that's why I traveled the world, to connect with these various masters. And through sitting by them and listening and learning, eventually the inspiration for the game Masters of Flight was seeded.
Mm.
So
Okay, nice.
it's a bring people together game in our time of motion,
Mm.
and it's done incredible things, like a family of 25 years of not communicating came together because of the game. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, I could die a happy man
There you
knowing
go.
that story.
It's amazing.
So one of the cards, like, this will give you a taste for like the cards. One of the cards was in relationships. It was to call someone on speakerphone and say I love you to who you have not spoken with in a long time. And
Oh,
this
wow.
person, she ended up calling her estranged brother who her and her family had not talked to in 25 years. Left a
Wow.
voice message live in front of the game. She ended up calling her back 2 days later, and the whole family ended up coming together as a result of that.
Wow. Oh my
And
God.
it's just playful stuff because life is
Yeah.
short, you know. So I really want people to seize the gift, seize the life, and take advantage of this beautiful gift that's in front of us here.
That's incredible. I love that. I'd love to. I'm gonna have to look it up myself. And you said you can. Is it available on star-codes.com, or is it
No,
just
it's on
Amazon or
Amazon. So if you go
Amazon?
on
Okay.
Amazon and search Masters of Light board game, you'll find it right away.
Okay, great. I'm gonna make a link to that in the show
Thank
notes
you.
and put that on the website so people can have access to it, because that sounds really fascinating and such a great way to like engage with each other. You know, especially in when we're at home more often now, and it's just a great way to connect as a family or with friends, and that's fascinating. Um,
I appreciate
and
it.
then yeah, absolutely. And then star codes. I mean, I feel like we're kind of coming at the end of our conversation here, but I like we can get into a whole other topic of astrology. I had no idea you had interests in
Yeah, I wasn't really sure whether to bring it up. That's why I kind of just like jumped right to Masters of Light. But
yeah,
okay, I'm just not
yeah.
gonna hold back because humanity is ready to know. There are so many.
Let's do it. Let's have it. Yeah,
there
put it
are
out there.
there are so many beautiful, benevolent beings in our universe from other dimensions, other planets that are seeking to work with humanity as we enter into this new time of our planet. And one of the key ways to begin this engagement is to enter into a multi-dimensional state of being. So
Mm,
Star Codes is a course that I guess came through me. I don't want to say I created it, it just came through me. And it's the guide practitioners into their multi-dimensional self while connecting with these benevolent species that have been documented in the histories of humanity in indigenous cultures, in ancient Egypt, in various spots around the world. So we're rethreading the true story of Earth that has been taken away from us through colonization, education, and reminding humanity of their true origins. And
mm,
Dark Codes will give people a beautiful entryway into that. I don't think there's any courses like this in the world. It's very unique based on experience. And we just finished our first 7-week course a couple weeks ago, and the testimonials
mm.
were really amazing. People just had
Wow.
incredible experiences, and these beings began to communicate with them. Beyond me, it just started to happen. So
Mm,
it's just an opening into something much greater that I think we need to expand into as a human
mm.
race.
Fascinating. Yeah, that's a an area that I have not spent much time in, or like experienced or studied. So um, sounds like something for me that I could like go and learn more about and kind of get a better understanding of what that looks like. So it's a course, is that correct, where people participate in a learning and an engagement with their connection to the astrological world?
Absolutely. The
Okay.
astrological, the galactic perspective, and
Hmm.
just the messages from these benevolent beings. But unfortunately, the course is not fully up right now, but if you
Okay.
go to Star Codes, you could get a glimpse of what we're up to. Just
Okay.
I'm just embedding all the videos as we speak. So
Gotcha.
yeah, check it out.
Okay.
Check out Masters of Light
Cool.
too, if you wish. Um, and
Yeah.
I'm just grateful to be on this conversation regardless
Yeah.
and come together as family.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. This is, yeah, I think this is a good place to kind of close down our conversation. I just want to say, thank you so much for your time, and your energy. Like, I felt very connected to you through this whole talk, and very inspired by your sharing, and felt really just safe and open to whatever we were led to discuss. And um, yeah, I'm just very grateful for your time. So thank you so much for talking. And anybody listening out there, please, yeah, go check out starcodes.com and Masters of Light, the board game on Amazon. I'll make sure both of those are available, on the website and Facebook. But yeah, Flo, thank you so much for this. It was amazing.
Deeply honored. Thank you too for
Yeah,
all your beautiful work, and maybe I'll just continue to do this great work and bring our planet
yeah,
to where it should be.
yeah, yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Flo.
So much love.
Yeah. All right.